Wait, did 50 Cent just say Oprah's about to be exposed? The timing couldn't be more suspicious. Right when Hollywood's biggest secrets are spilling out left and right, Curtis Jackson decides to drop this bombshell about one of the most powerful women in media history. And honestly, the evidence he's bringing up is making people look at Oprah completely differently. This whole thing started heating up again last week when 50 posted something cryptic on Instagram. He shared an old photo of Oprah with Harvey Weinstein, then deleted it 20 minutes later. But the internet never forgets, and screenshots spread everywhere. People started connecting dots that maybe weren't meant to be connected. Or maybe they were exactly what needed to be exposed. The beef between these two goes back almost 20 years. Back in 2006, when 50 was at the peak of his career, selling millions of records, he wanted that Oprah interview. Every major artist got one. It was like a stamp of approval that said you'd really made it. But Oprah? She wanted nothing to do with him. She literally told people she didn't agree with his music or what he represented. Think about that for a second. Here's a guy who survived getting shot 9 times, built an empire from nothing, and she wouldn't even give him a platform. But 50 is not the type to just take rejection and move on. He started calling her out publicly, saying she only cared about her white audience. He said, and I'm quoting here, "She's an Oreo, black on the outside, white on the inside." Was it harsh? Yeah, but was he the only one thinking it? Definitely not. The thing is, 50 wasn't alone in feeling shut out. Ludacris had his own experience that still makes him uncomfortable to talk about. When he went on her show in 2005 to promote Crash, which ended up winning Best Picture at the Oscars, by the way, Oprah basically ambushed him. Instead of talking about the movie, she went after him about using the N-word in his music. And get this, they edited out his responses to make him look worse. Ludacris said they cut the parts where he explained his perspective, leaving only the parts that made him look ignorant. Dave Chappelle's interview was another strange one. After he walked away from that $50 million Comedy Central deal, everyone wanted to know why. Oprah got the exclusive interview, but people who watched it said something felt off. She kept pushing this narrative that he must have had mental health issues or substance problems. Dave kept saying no, that wasn't it, but she wouldn't let it go. It was like she had already decided what story she wanted to tell. Then there's the Ice Cube situation. Ice Cube claimed Oprah wouldn't promote his movie Barbershop because she had issues with how it portrayed Rosa Parks. But here's what's interesting. She had no problem promoting movies that showed black people in much worse situations. So what was really going on there? Monique's story might be the most damaging, though. After Monique won an Oscar for Precious, you'd think doors would open for her everywhere. Instead, she claims Oprah, along with Tyler Perry and Lee Daniels, basically blackballed her from Hollywood. Why? Because she wouldn't play the game? She wouldn't do free appearances to promote the movie during awards season. She wanted to get paid for her time, which seems pretty reasonable for an Oscar winner, right? But Monique says Oprah called her and told her she needed to think about how she was being perceived in the industry. Translation: fall in line or get pushed out. And when Monique didn't back down, her phone stopped ringing, roles dried up. She went from Oscar winner to practically unemployable overnight. Now let's talk about that school in South Africa because this is where things get really dark. Oprah opened the Leadership Academy for Girls in 2007, spending $40 million of her own money. On paper, it looked amazing. Give disadvantaged girls a world-class education, change their lives forever. But almost immediately, problems started surfacing. In 2007, just months after opening, a dorm matron was accused of abusing students. We're talking about serious allegations here: physical abuse, inappropriate conduct. Oprah flew to South Africa, held a press conference, cried on camera. She said she'd failed the girls. The matron was arrested but later acquitted. But that was just the beginning. In 2011, 7 students were suspended for sexual misconduct with other students. Then a newborn baby was found dead in one student's bag. The student was 17 years old. These aren't just rumors. These were reported in mainstream media. The South African press covered it extensively. But here's where it gets weird. Stories started circulating online about girls going missing from the school. Now, I need to be clear, there's no verified evidence of students disappearing. But the fact that these rumors gained so much traction shows how much people's trust in Oprah had already eroded. When you've had multiple scandals at a school you personally oversee, people start believing the worst. 50 Cent has been bringing all this up lately, asking questions nobody else in Hollywood seems brave enough to ask. He's pointed out how Oprah was friends with Harvey Weinstein for years. She was photographed with him countless times at events, parties, premieres. When the Weinstein scandal broke, she put out a statement saying she was horrified. But 50's asking, how could she not know? Everyone in Hollywood apparently knew something was off about Harvey. Courtney Love warned people about him back in 2005 and got blacklisted for it. And it's not just Weinstein. Oprah gave platforms to people who later turned out to be frauds or worse. She promoted Dr. Oz, who's been called before Congress for promoting fake weight loss products. She made Dr. Phil famous, and there have been numerous complaints about how his show exploits vulnerable people. She had John of God on her show, calling him inspiring. He's now serving 99 years in prison for sexual abuse in Brazil. Over 600 women came forward with allegations against him. The pattern is hard to ignore once you start looking. Oprah has this ability to present herself as America's therapist, everyone's best friend, the queen of empowerment. But behind the scenes, different story. Seal, the singer, called her out directly after the Golden Globes. He posted a photo of her kissing Weinstein with the caption, "When you've been part of the problem for decades, but suddenly everyone thinks you're the solution." Rose McGowan, one of Weinstein's most vocal accusers, also had words for Oprah. She said Oprah's public support for the Me Too movement was hypocritical, given her private associations. These aren't random internet trolls making these accusations. These are established artists and activists. What makes 50's recent warnings interesting is the timing. Hollywood's been going through this massive reckoning. Diddy's situation has everyone looking at old relationships differently. People are asking questions about who knew what and when they knew it. And Oprah's name keeps coming up in conversations she probably doesn't want to be part of. 50 posted recently, "They all work together. They all protect each other until they don't." Was he talking about Oprah specifically? He won't say directly, but the implication is pretty clear. He's suggesting that the same network that protected other powerful figures might have been protecting Oprah too. And now that network is falling apart. There's also the financial aspect nobody talks about. Oprah's worth billions, but how did she accumulate that much wealth? Media pays well, sure, but billions? She's got stakes in Weight Watchers, which has been criticized for promoting unhealthy diet culture. She's got production deals that some say exploit trauma for entertainment. Every special about tragedy, every exclusive interview with someone in pain. That's content that makes money. Remember when she had the Turpin siblings on her show? These kids had been tortured by their parents for years, finally escaped, and Oprah got the exclusive interview. She presented herself as their advocate, their friend. But what happened after the cameras stopped rolling? Those kids ended up back in terrible situations. Some reported being homeless, abused in foster care. Where was Oprah then? The Black community especially feels betrayed. Here's someone who built her career on the struggles and stories of Black women, but when it comes to supporting Black artists who don't fit her image, suddenly she's not interested. She'll promote the color purple, which shows Black men in the worst light possible but won't support a rapper talking about surviving the streets. Monique said something that stuck with me. She said Oprah's power comes from appearing untouchable above criticism. But once people start questioning her, once that image cracks, everything could come tumbling down. And that's exactly what 50's been working on, creating those cracks. He's also brought up the interesting fact that Oprah never got married, never had kids. Now that's her choice, and nobody should judge that. But 50 points out how she uses her relationship with Gayle King and her girls from the school to present this maternal image. It's all about image control with her, he says. The South African school situation deserves more attention. Parents of students have complained about strict rules that seem designed to cut girls off from their families. Limited phone calls, restricted visits. Some parents said they felt like they lost their daughters to the school. That's not normal for an educational institution, even an elite boarding school. Former students have given mixed reviews. Some praise the education they received, the opportunities it opened. Others describe an environment of fear, where speaking out against anything meant risking your future. One former student, speaking anonymously, said they were taught to never criticize Oprah or the school publicly because their entire education depended on staying in her good graces. 50's been suggesting people look into the school's finances too. Where does all the money go? The school costs millions to run annually, but with only about 300 students, that's an insane per-student cost. Some forensic accountants who've looked at public records say the numbers don't quite add up. But nobody wants to investigate too deeply because, well, it's Oprah. The entertainment industry protects its own until it doesn't. We saw it with Weinstein, and everyone knew. Nobody spoke up until it became safe to do so. We're seeing it now with Diddy. Could Oprah be next? 50 seems to think so. He keeps saying, watch what happens next. What's really interesting is who's staying quiet. Tyler Perry, who's been Oprah's close friend and business partner for years, hasn't said anything about 50's recent accusations. Other celebrities who usually defend Oprah are noticeably silent. In Hollywood, silence often speaks volumes. Even Oprah's response has been telling. Instead of addressing anything directly, her team puts out vague statements about not dignifying baseless claims with responses. But if the claims are so baseless, why not just clear the air? Why not show receipts that prove 50 wrong? The comparison to Ellen DeGeneres is inevitable. Ellen built this image as the nicest person in show business, dancing and being kind to everyone. Then employees started talking about toxic work environments, and suddenly that whole image crumbled. Her show ended, her reputation destroyed. Could the same thing happen to Oprah? 50's strategy is clever. He's not making specific accusations that could get him sued. He's just asking questions, pointing out connections, reminding people of things they might have forgotten. He's creating doubt, and in the court of public opinion, doubt is often enough. Social media has changed everything. Back in the day, Oprah could control the narrative through her show, her magazine, her network. Now, anyone with an Instagram account can challenge her. And when someone with 50 Cent's following starts talking, millions listen. The younger generation especially isn't buying the Oprah mythology. They see her as part of the establishment, the same system that's protected abusers and exploited trauma for profit. They're asking why someone needs to be a billionaire while claiming to be about empowerment and giving back. There's also growing criticism of her book club and how it operates. Authors have claimed that getting selected is more about who you know than what you write. Some say there's a pay-to-play element that nobody talks about. Want Oprah's endorsement? Better be ready to play ball with her business interests. The Weight Watchers situation is particularly problematic. Oprah bought a stake in the company, then used her platform to promote it, making millions when the stock price jumped. Is that ethical? Using your influence to pump up an investment? Some financial experts say it borders on market manipulation, but because it's Oprah, nobody investigates. 50's latest posts suggest he's got more information coming. He keeps teasing about receipts and wait till you see what's next. Whether he actually has something concrete or is just stirring the pot remains to be seen. But he's definitely got Oprah's attention. Sources say her legal team is on high alert, ready to respond to anything actionable. The really telling thing? Other celebrities are starting to share their own stories. Quietly, carefully, but they're talking. Stories about being shut out, about double standards, about Oprah's true nature behind closed doors. Once that dam breaks, it's hard to stop the flood. We're living in an era where the mighty fall fast. One day you're untouchable, the next day you're canceled. Oprah's built an empire on being the moral authority, the wise counselor, the spiritual guide. But what happens when people stop believing in that image? 50 Cent might not be the perfect messenger. He's got his own controversies and beefs with half of Hollywood. But sometimes it takes someone who's got nothing to lose to say what everyone else is thinking. He's not trying to protect relationships or maintain access. He's just calling it like he sees it. The question now is whether this gains momentum or fizzles out. Will other voices join 50 in questioning Oprah's legacy? Will journalists start digging deeper into those old stories? Will someone finally investigate what really happened at that school in South Africa? Oprah's built different, though. She's not just a celebrity, she's an institution. She's got political connections, business ties that run deep, media influence that spans continents. Taking her down would require more than just social media posts and old grievances. It would take real evidence, real courage, and probably a whole movement. But movements start with one voice, then two, then suddenly everyone's talking. 50 Cent might have just lit the match. Whether it starts a fire or burns out remains to be seen. One thing's for sure, though. Oprah's probably not sleeping as peacefully as she used to. The timing with everything else happening in Hollywood can't be ignored. The whole industry's going through this reckoning, this exposure of long-hidden truths. Sacred cows are being slaughtered left and right. Why should Oprah be immune? 50 ended one of his recent posts with, "The truth always comes out eventually. Always." Whether he's right about Oprah, only time will tell. But the fact that we're even having this conversation, that people are starting to question someone who seemed unquestionable, that's already a victory for him. So, what do you think? Is 50 Cent onto something, or is this just another celebrity beef that'll blow over? Are we about to see Oprah's carefully constructed image finally crack? Because if even half of what's being suggested is true, this could be the biggest fall from grace Hollywood's ever seen. And honestly, after everything that's been hidden for so long, maybe it's time for all the truth to come out.